Hello, everyone. Happy Motivational Monday. My name is Kira. I am your host, and I'm so excited to have you here for another episode of Motivational Monday. And we're starting these episodes now every time with the flyer and with the music. The reason why is because someone left some feedback that even though they're in the waiting room for a while before, it takes them a little bit to get in and they feel like they missed part of the conversation. So now you don't have to feel like that. You can just enjoy some of my favorite music. I love that you all are already vibing in the chat. That makes me so happy. Again, I'll say this every time. Your energy fuels our energy. The more that you put out, the more that we'll give, which means the more that you'll get. So, the song that I shared, so nice to have you here, Ty, is a song by Bon Iver. Drop 111 in the chat if you know who Bon Iver is. If not, then welcome to the world of Bon Iver. He has this amazing song, and I've mentioned it at least one time. There's one line of lyrics that really hit me last month, and it says, I can handle more than I can handle. And I was hanging with my friend, and I was like, oh my God, duh, I can't handle more than I can handle. That's basic math. And he was like, Kira, that's not what the song says. The song says, I can handle more than I can handle. And him and I had like a 2 hour long deep dive conversation about what does it look like to be a human being handling more than we can handle? Where are the places that we're doing way too much? Where are the places that we're putting too much expectation on ourselves? Where are the places where we don't have boundaries, where we're not able to be vulnerable, where we're not able to share and explore and experience maybe what it would be like to actually understand our true capacity? Because a lot of us are operating way outside of our capacity. So that line, I change it in my head whenever I hear the song. It's I can't handle more than I can handle because that's my reminder to myself. Kira, you can only do so much. Kira, you are one person. It's so interesting. I used to think people used to call me small. I'm 5'3". I'm a little Puerto Rican Italian woman, but I used to not like being called small. I wanted to take up all this space and be bigger than the world and be the most extravagant person in the world. But I've actually had to really start acknowledging my size, what I can do, where I can ask for help, maybe where I've just been doing too much throughout my life. I'm like, I'm just one little Kira. And that has helped me save so much energy. And it's also allowed me to have people help me on my journey, which is perfect for this month's conversation because we're talking about interpersonal relationships. We're in month 2 of our Leading in Love series. We have the beautiful Edith here, and I'll give her a formal introduction in just a moment. But this month is all about interpersonal relationships, friends, family, lovers. Kelsey, I'm just a girl. Exactly. So with that, we're having a conversation now about how do we understand human connection, right? How do we grow? How do we evolve? How do we develop? But I want to tell you guys one really cool, fun, amazing statistic that is only for our group, this statistic. In the month of July, we did self-love and we dove all the way into self-love. And in your survey that you all filled out last week, where I asked you for some feedback about your growth over your self love, 92% of you experienced a positive evolution in your self love in the month of July alone. Congratulations on that. Um, I'm so excited to have Edith here because we're going to learn about what neuroscience is and what that means in regards to human connection, and we're going to learn the way that the body works and the brain works versus how we think that we're supposed to work. And it's going to give us a lot of freedom and it's going to give us a lot of acceptance, especially when it comes into human connection. So I'm really excited for that. Before I give her a formal introduction, I've got 2 other announcements. Tomorrow is our Life Guides Experience webinar. It is hosted by yours truly. It's a quick 15-minute one hitter where I tell you what is Life Guides. So you get me for another day this week. You actually have 3 opportunities to connect with me this week. Here, right now, Motivational Monday. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. Tomorrow, we have our What is Life Guides, the Life Guides experience. I'm dropping that registration link in the chat for you. Come join. Come learn what Life Guides is. We do a lot more than just events, but I can't in this 30-minute conversation, I can't go in deep about who we are and what we do. So join us. And then on Wednesday, which I know all of you are going to be wildly excited about, we have our larger connect session this month, our deep dive. It's going to be rebranded as deep dive next quarter. The deep dive this month in regards to interpersonal relationships is all about boundaries. We're teaching you how to set boundaries. We're teaching you how to get clear on your boundaries, what your needs are, how to hold firm in your boundaries, because there are a lot of different layers to all of that. You all have requested longer sessions for so many times. I hear you. We have one a month where we dive deep, and you've also requested boundaries. Every survey that I receive, how to have boundaries, how to navigate conflict resolution, how to say no, how to say yes, all of the things. So we're doing that this Wednesday. I just dropped the link in the chat for you to register for that. And that is all of my announcements. So, with all of that being said, we have the beautiful, the amazing Edith here, and she is a credentialed neuroplastician who has inspired thousands of professionals worldwide for over 3 decades. She doesn't look like it's been 3 decades, but believe me, it's been 3 decades. Her extensive certifications include Global Professional in Human Resources, Senior Certified Professional, Master Neuro Coach, Strategy Facilitator, and AI for Talent Development. She is the founder and CEO of Smart Brain Insights, Inc. Her academic foundation includes postgraduate studies in organizational psychology, business administration, leadership, process consulting, and digital transformation strategies at MIT. She believes in the greatness of others, and as the founder and CEO of Smart Brain Insights, she and her team are dedicated to helping individuals and organizations achieve growth not yet imagined. So I'm dropping Edith's link in the chat. She is one of our guides. You can schedule a one-on-one call with her and dive deep with her into any topic that tickles you, that she is well versed in. She'll be able to help you and support you. So Edith, I want to I want to start this conversation by having a little chat about what neuroscience is, and I want it to be really elementary because neuroscience in the brain is your world and it's so important and so foundational for all of us. But sometimes science can be too sciencey, so I want you to make it a little bit more human for us to understand like what is neuroscience and why is it so important, and then we'll dive into the conversation today.
Fantastic, Kira. Good morning, everyone. I am so thrilled to be with you. Neuroscience is the scientific study of the brain, our nervous system, and how we shape our thoughts, emotions, and behavior. It looks at how neurons, that's those little things that connect with one another to make sure that we can process information, and how our biological system influence what we feel and what we do. So at the very bottom of human connection, neuroscience is key because our brains are wired for social interaction. Just as like those neurons is always looking to connect, so are human beings. Believe it or not, some of us say, well, no, I don't like people. Yes, your brain does. We just need to retrain our brains. But from the release of oxytocin, that is the hormone that allows us to feel trust, and it activates when we are in love, when we feel psychological safety, to the activation of what we call mirror neurons. That means when you're young and young, does that ever happen to you, Kira? When you go, and the other person go, that's why we empathize. Neuroscience explains the biological basis why we feel understood, supported, and bonded with others. Does that make a little bit of an explanation why neuroscience is key? It's all about it because connection is biological as well.
Yeah,
We
that is
feel it
such
in
a
our
beautiful
body, in
definition.
our heart, in our spirit. It's all about us. So it's an integrated thing.
We need human connection. We are a social species. And I don't know why I haven't thought of it in regards to the brain, but I know through my research of studying relationships, relationship dynamics, communication, vulnerability, boundaries, we need people. And it's not just this thing where it's like, "Oh, I need a friend around." It's so much deeper than that. And what's her name? Brain. The only name in my brain is Edith right now, but what how am I forgetting her name? Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up.
Yvette?
Oh,
Yvette?
Esther Perel. Esther Perel.
Oh, it's the
She the other E name. I'm like, why can't I think of it? Esther Perel says, I have 1,000 Facebook friends, but I don't have anyone to watch my cat. And there is a difference between artificial connection that's built through social media, and social media and technology can be a great bridge to building deep connection, but there is an actual science to building human connection, and it's deeper than the screen, and it's more about everything that we're going to talk about today. So that was a perfect explanation, Edith. And I think a great way to just start the conversation is, why, from a neuroscience perspective, is human connection so essential? Obviously, our neurons and our brains are looking for that connection, but what is that doing to us, and what is that feeding us and fueling us?
Yes, absolutely. So human connection is just not a nice to have, as you mentioned. It's literally wired into our biology. So from the moment we're born, our brains develop a response to relationship. The brain's social network regulates our emotions, stress level, and even physical health. So without connection, we see higher levels of anxiety, depression, chronic illness. So neuroscience tells us what it's others um, helping us to feel safe, meaningful ways to change the structure and the chemistry of our brains. For example, increasing the oxytocin for trust, as I mentioned before, the serotonin for mood, lowering cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So it's not just about feeling good; it's about survival and thriving. So when we are connecting with others, we we actually have proven that stress, well, some people might cause you stress, so let's put another conversation on that. But when you have very good, healthy relationships, your chemicals in your body are going to be at the highest level, the good chemicals. So instead of running on cortisol, you might be running on dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, and all those chemicals that makes you feel good and boost your wellness. So for all different reasons, it's very, very important to have that human connection.
Mm. It reminds me of, I forget where I read this statistic. I read it somewhere. You, in a book, you are 40% more likely. Actually, before I say the statistic, I want to know in the chat, drop 222 in the chat if you would consider yourself lonely or maybe isolated, or maybe lacking the connections that you would want, like the depth of connections that you would want in your life. And drop 333 in the chat if you feel actually fulfilled. If you're like, you know what, I've got a really great social network around me. I feel super resourced. And it's interesting. I'm single, I'm dating. One of the things that I say to men is I like a well-resourced man. Yeah, I love a man who has money, but what I love even more is a man who's well-resourced in people. Do you have mentors? Do you have coaches? Do you have good friends? Do you have good relationships with your family members? All of that matters. So we
You have a
have
life guide.
exact and a life. Do you have a life guide, baby? Hello. um yeah, we have a good mix in the chat. Some of you are like, you know what? I really relate to loneliness. Some of you are like, I actually have a really good support system. And some of you are in the middle. So, and some of you are like, I'm all of the above. What the heck? So with that, you're 40% more likely, this is scientifically proven, you're 40% more likely to die of loneliness than you are of smoking a pack of cigarettes every single day.
Yes, I read about that. Isn't that
So,
ridiculous?
with that, when we're talking about oxytocin, which is the love hormone. When we're talking about serotonin, which boosts our mood, even I think that relationships can boost our endorphins, which endorphins are created when you're in a challenging place and you move through it positively and get to the other side. It's like the struggle hormone that gets you boosted up and going forward. If you can handle a conflict healthily, to me, that's like endorphins, right? So with that, before we dive into like the actual brain, what are some basic human connections things? Like I think of a hug boosting oxytocin. What are some basic things for human connection that instantly boost our well-being in regards to neuroscience and human connection?
Absolutely. So I like to call it even micro moments of connection, Kira. Micro moments. People think that it takes a long time to create those moments, but I would rather to think that is the small micro moments that you experience. When you collect a lot of those, you have that sense of well-being. So, for example, um, sharing a good laugh together. And people forget to laugh with one another, even if it's a stranger person. I don't know how many times I used to, and this was me before, right? We all had our growing opportunities, and we still do. I would go to the supermarket and I probably just walk the aisles, get into my lane for paying. And if I had to wait, well, now you do your own checkouts. But in the old days, you do those big lines. And I would just take a magazine and read, while other people might be trying to connect with the people in the front and people on the back, or even laughing about somebody, unfortunately, somebody passing by, or something that happened, or, so now I'm more intentional about creating those moments of laughing with other people, even if I don't know them. Taking 3 deep breaths together with your partner, with a friend, say, hey, Kira, nice. We're going into this meeting. I know we're going to discuss something heavy. Can we have a deep breath and set our intentions before? And those 30 seconds of eye contact, how many times you're conversing with someone else and you're not really even looking at their eyes. You're connected to your telephone. Or even if you're not, because now we learn, put your telephone on the side when you're speaking with someone, but sometimes you're not even looking at their eyes. And the eyes has so much to tell us. And people feel your intention and your safety when you look at them at the eyes. Now, that doesn't include, obviously, some people might feel that threatening depending on their neurodiversity. So we need to keep that in mind. What is comfortable for me might not be comfortable for someone else. But it is important to have that flexibility. And when it's appropriate, make that eye contact, because you're letting, they always say the eyes are the how they sell it, the doors to the soul, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the window,
Yes,
the eyes are the window to the soul.
the
Yeah.
window to the soul. And it's true. I don't know how many times I just look at someone, and even if I'm not showing teeth, but even if I just look and do this little smile, the other person responds with a big smile to me. And that's a
Mhm.
micro moment too.
That's so beautiful. And it reminds me, I'm the type of person, I was just at a concert this weekend. I'm the type of person where I like when I'm at a concert, I'm dead staring the musician. And I swear, every single time at a concert, musicians are like dead staring back at me because I feel like they feel me and they feel that connection. I'm so happy to be there. But I look around sometimes and there's less engagement than I would like to see from others. And it's not just concerts, it's conversations. It's being in places where we feel like actually Gabrielle had a great comment in the chat. And for those of you who are here, there is a Q&A that will be coming up in about 6 minutes, 7 minutes. So if you have questions, there's a Q&A box at the bottom. Please leave your questions in the chat and we can answer them for you. Um, Gabrielle said, I was just talking with my husband the other day about how I have a lot of family and friends, but only a handful of them leave me feeling fulfilled and at peace when we spend time together. With the others, I feel like I have to be on, like I'm only there to serve a purpose or a need for them without any reciprocation, and it feels draining, like a thankless job can feel. So I'm curious, when we start diving into the neuroscience, Edith, and we start talking about the relationship brain or the relational brain, what does that mean? And how do the mirror neurons, where like when you're smiling I smile, when you yawn I yawn, and then attachment systems, for those of you who don't know much about attachment, we physically connect and attach to people. Sometimes they're secure attachments where we know that they're safe and we can trust them. Sometimes they're insecure, where they've shown us that we can't trust them, but somehow we still rely on them to show up and continue to show us that they're untrustworthy. So, how does the relational brain play into these different relationship dynamics where we have some that leave us really fulfilled and others that we kind of feel like we're fulfilling a role?
Yes. So let's unpack a little bit all of that, because it's a lot. When when we receive this comment, it leads me first to what is a transactional versus a real connection, that the transformational type of connections that we have. And I will speak to that a little bit after we speak first about mirror neurons and and the attachment system, because that's a lot to do with what we're going to discuss next. So the rational brain the relational brain, I mean, is part of our nervous system, right? It's there to build connection. And we first have the what we call mirror, as in mirror, neurons. And those are the ones that, for example, I told Kira, when I yawn, that everybody's yawning, right? And if look at someone and smile with my eyes, and I had that real authentic smile, the other person might smile back, right? So they say that's the best ticket that you have to connect with somebody else. So they're a big reason why emotions are contagious. If people around you are very, very stressed, you're going to get that stress. It's, I mean, it's true. We do connect with energy, right? We can pass that energy to others. We have so much energy, we can lit the light bulb here. So the idea here is that we understand first how my energy is doing and how it is affected by others. So those middle neurons are playing a big role. Yes, Kalina, that's why you're big on energy. Then you have what you refer to the attachment system. And the attachment system is shaped very early in life, right? It teaches of whether relationships feel safe, unpredictable, or risky. If we have a secure attachment, because when we were kids, we really developed that secure attachment, we're more likely to trust and connect with others. It's easier for us. However, if we have anxious or avoidant patterns, we might seek reassurance constantly or withdraw when things get close. Understanding where you are, this system will help us to see that our reactions in relationships are not random. They are rooted in our brain's wiring. And the exciting part is we can rewire our conscious and healthy relationship, because this thing called neuroplasticity allows us to rebuild and rewire our brain. So that's the good news. Now, talking about the transformational, transactional versus transactional relationship, the word says it all, right? You give me this, you give me that. They can be efficient, but they're often surface level. Transformational relationship, on the other hand, change who we are. Are those people that when we get one of the words that is my favorite word in the world is conversations. Con, one or more. Versation comes from the root word versatis, meaning something is about to shift. So when you come into a conversation, it's this idea that something is about to shift just because we came to Motivational Monday to have this conversation, right? So we're open to be influenced, and we are open to use this to influence others as well. So neuroscience shows that deep interaction strengthens neural pathways associated with empathy, perspective taking, problem solving, and in other words, transformational relationship literally expands the brain capacity for connection and creativity. So that's why transformational relationship is what we need to be seeking. Can we completely avoid it? I don't think so. But let's make sure that's the least in your life.
Exactly. Okay. So this is the time where we would normally dive into Q&A. None of you have submitted any questions. You can leave them in the chat or you can leave them in the Q&A box, but we're going to keep going with our questions until you give us questions. So, um with that, I think this is a perfect place for us to still diving off of Gabrielle's insight in the chat. We have a lot of people who do struggle with conflict or misunderstandings. How can neuroscience help us handle those better? Because I'm sure that some of those transactional relationships that Gabrielle was expressing have been created by the acceptance of just is what it is, and not having necessarily that conversation of I need more. So how does neuroscience start to play a role in how we handle these conflicts or misunderstandings or even expressing our needs in a place where maybe for years we haven't expressed it and now we realize that it's time to?
Mhm. So I think one of the most powerful tool, we probably heard this more often that we think of. The commitment from you is, and from all of the people attending, is when you take a tool from here, when you hear something and you say that makes sense, what do you do with it? If you don't try to implement that in the next few hours, it's probably going to lay down in your paper and you have these beautiful notes that will serve you a reminder of all the things that you learned that you haven't put into practice. So, my biggest challenge to everyone who is attending today is that when you use a tool that you probably learned here before, pause, name, refrain. Pause, name, refrain. I will explain. If I'm having a tension situation with Kira, which has never happened yet, Kira, I hope it never does. But let's say we're having a tension relationship. My automatic response is telling me because my body, you feel the first moment is in your body, right? That's called the somatic thing. Now, some of us are not even aware of those things that happens in our body, but something is shifting and you know it. You're getting tense, your voice is beginning to change. If you can capture that even before the voice changes, you can interrupt that automatic stress response. We call it the pause. So that's the step one. And then once you pause, you say, whoop, my voice was about to change. Oh, Kira is really, really getting me stressed. Or I can believe that she's asking me again, whatever, right? So pause in that moment. Second, label your emotion. And emotional literacy is very important for all of us. So make a commitment to learn more about emotional literacy. You need to learn more about the nuances. It's not the same, I'm upset that I'm angry. It's not the same as I'm disappointed that I'm upset, right? And they might look like it. You might feel it in the same place, but they don't mean the same. So label your emotion out loud or in your mind. The research shows that naming feelings actually calms the amygdala, and that's the brain's threat detector, right? That's what you say, do I attack? Do I freeze? Do I jump in? Do I fight? Right? And then refrain, shift the story. Instead of saying, oh, she's trying to get me again, this Kira, I might say, I can't believe she has the need to control,
Hmm.
right? Now I'm shifting, I'm refraining, and now my amygdala is helping me to respond adequately for the moment. So conflicts can be solved a lot better when you're calm and you can choose your response. So say that is a very important step between the moment that you initiate that tension and the moment that you're responding, and that's called that pause. But in that pause you need to not only pause but name and refrain.
So beautiful. So we have 3 questions and 2 minutes left. Um,
Okay.
I'm trying to see. I feel like we're gonna only be able to answer one.
Mhm.
Um, I think this one, I don't know. I have two that I like. We'll go with the first one that came in. How do we nurture? I like all of them, but I'm just gonna
And
ask
then
you
and
this
there was
question.
1 minute already,
I
Kira.
know. How do we nurture those fulfilling relationships even with our busy lives?
Again, I go back to micro moments. The other day, and my partner might be on the call actually, Donald. And the other day, we had to go and speak in a different town. And for the first time in a long time, we really had time to reconnect. And it was kind of cool. But then on the way back home, we said, well, we not always have 2, 3 days to just be by ourselves without interruptions and have the beautiful moments that we shared. But we decided that we would be more intentional about those micro moments. It's when you wake up in the morning, that kiss in the morning, that blessing at night, that whoever gets up first makes the coffee for both. And sometimes it's me and sometimes it's him. But just building those micro moments, we can be very, very busy, but you still have to brush your teeth. You still have to do your coffee or your breakfast, whatever. Pulling the chair, opening the door, whatever that is, but it's that kindness in the treatment that creates that micro moment that makes me feel safe and secure, that you're taking care of me. And it also helps expand that window of tolerance when we're stressed out and we need to respond to the other person, reminding ourselves how important it is to build those moments in everything we do. And it's just, I would like to start with kindness. Just try to be more kind in any single conversation that you have. So
Mm.
build those micro moments. They need to be, they can be microseconds. It doesn't matter. Sometimes it's passing the hand, like passing by the person and touching or hugging or it's just little things and we know it. As human beings, we know what feels good, what makes the other person feels good, and build more intentions about that. Never let life run your love.
I love that. I say this all the time. I don't I don't live to work. I work to live. I build my life around my job and not my job. No, I build my job around my life and not my life around my job. And same thing, I build my love around my life and not my life around my love or
Yeah.
whatever way. But there are ways every day that you can take time and you can do those micro moments and you can shift what your priorities are. And sometimes we just get so stuck here, but if we remember our heart, we need human connection and our brain and our heart are connected in our bodies. They feed each other all day. So thank you all so much for being here. It has always been a pleasure and a joy. Motivational Monday is always the shorter conversations. It never feels like we get enough. Hopefully, you're always wanting more. I will see you on Wednesday for our larger conversation. It's an hour long, all about boundaries. I'm dropping the link in the chat for you. And then, Edith, do you have any final words before I close this out?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would like to close by making a big challenge.
Ooh.
Connection is not a luxury, it's an essential as food and water for our brain and our body. Every small moment of presence, kindness, and understanding you create has a big impact in your health and on the other person. So,
Mhm.
science says it, don't wait for someday to connect. Start today, one micro moment at a time. Back to
Mm. Thank you all so much for being here, everyone. The recording will be emailed to you on Thursday. I hope to see you tomorrow for our Life Guides experience and Wednesday for our deep dive into boundaries. Sending you all lots and lots of love and hoping that you have the best Monday ever. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.